Sony has had a very interesting journey in the realm of gaming on the go and handheld gaming. Their last effort, the PlayStation Vita, had so much potential, but it kind of failed. But it also kind of paved the way for the Nintendo Switch. What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking Cookie Junkie by Back Pocket. This is a chocolate, caramel, and coconut dessert stout.
Kind of like the Girl Scout cookies. Ooh. Look at that. You know the drill. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you never miss one of our bi-weekly uploads. And sit back, relax, pour yourself a beer if you care to, and let's take a look at Sony's journey through handheld gaming.
Hey everybody, I'm Chronic Spartan, and one of my favourite things to do is grabbing a good beer, kicking off my shoes, relaxing my socks, and watching one of my favourite YouTube channels, Gaming Off the Grid. Cheers.
There are a few times in gaming history where something comes out and it's so badass, and it's so powerful, and it's almost like the market isn't quite ready for it.
Yeah. They don't know what to do with it.
Sony's PlayStation Vita. I mean, from a tech standpoint, possibly one of the greatest handheld consoles ever made.
It was freaking badass.
I mean, PS3 level graphics, maybe even a little bit better. Just a monster, but it didn't do very well. In the US, it only sold like 2.6 million copies, and worldwide, I believe it was under 20. It was like 16 million units sold.
That's not that much if you compare it to what the PSP did earlier than that. The PSP freaking dominated.
Which it's weird to me that the PSP did so well, you know, in that $80 million range for sales, and that those people weren't hungry and really wanting.
Yeah, the next Sony handheld.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of dig in a little bit here on Sony's journey through gaming on the go, or, you know, mobile gaming, or handheld gaming, if you will, and then kind of how we think the Switch capitalized on it and did it way better than Sony did, and all those type of things. I think this goes all the way back, Sony dipping their toe in the water, to when the PS1 came out. Not the PlayStation 1, the mini PlayStation 1, because it came with a screen, or a screen that you could get, and car adapters so that you could game on the go.
Game on the go, which back then was revolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you had like the Game Boy and stuff, but that was so freaking cool. You could play your PS1 games in the car on your way to go see grandma. Like, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, the year that came out, I believe it was like September of 2000. It was slightly before the PlayStation 2 came out. It led Sony, or I think all consoles, in sales. That little PS1 did.
Damn.
And it ended up selling, it was only on the market for like 5 or 6 years, selling like 28 million units. So I think there was a want or a need for folks to be able to play their PlayStation stuff while they're not at home or just tethered to their TV. And I think the PS1 kind of scratched that itch and opened the door for them to start looking into the PlayStation Portable, or the PSP, which came out in 2005, roughly 3 years after the PS2.
And the PSP, man, I remember when that came out, it was freaking huge. I never had one, but my neighbor had one, and it was so freaking badass.
Yeah, it was, I always thought it was a little less powerful, or graphics were a little worse than the PlayStation 2, but they were a little bit better than the PS1, I felt like.
But it's freaking, you could play in your bed, you could play in the car, you can play wherever you want, you know? So
super reliable, had the very unique UMD games, I believe they were called, like the disc within a shell.
And you could watch movies on it, which was so freaking cool.
Yeah, I don't know why I get jacked up still this day when I see a PSP movie out in the wild.
I don't know either.
Like,
it's so niche.
Do I pick that up or not?
It's like finding HD DVDs, you know, for the Xbox.
Yeah, so they did very well with that, and it was always unique to me. It came out, 6 months-ish after the DS. DS is awesome. 3DS is awesome. The 3DS didn't come out until like 2011.
Yep.
The DS came out in 2004. And the PSP had so much more power than the DS, but the DS just kicked its ass. 150-some million units sold. And not that the PSP did poor.
No, yeah, it did really good. It was 80 million units, 81 million, something like that.
It just, you know, I kind of look at like that market of who's playing handheld games. It probably tends to be a lot of kids, right?
A lot of younger kids, and I think why the DS did so well, at least from my experience, is Nintendogs. I think that was huge, and I think tons of kids had it. I'm not trying to make a joke, but I think a lot of kids have got it, because all my siblings had that game. There's a reason to get a DS as a young kid. You know?
I about lost my beer there, but
I'm not trying. I think it's a fact.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know the game was really popular. then Sony takes a major step and releases the powerhouse, the PlayStation Vita, in February of 2012. So the PS3 was towards the back end of its life cycle.
And the PS4 was about to come out like a year later.
This thing took what the PSP did and basically just made it so much better. Beautiful display, a lot better controls. The joysticks were so much better. Do you remember that little joystick, the wannabe joystick on the PSP?
The PSP, it tried, but it just wasn't as good. But the Vita, man, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It still is amazing. It was. I mean, it's not in production, but the console is still great, and collectors are all about it. But performance-wise, from a sales perspective, it did not do very well. We already talked about the numbers, but 16 million units worldwide, only almost 2.5 in the US. It didn't take off, and the reasoning, I think, is poor marketing.
Oh, yes.
And I think it wasn't universally understood what you could do with the Vita. Now, if you had a Vita, you probably knew.
You knew you could play your freaking games from your console, which is freaking badass. I think marketing was a huge thing because I didn't even know about it. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't even know about it. Like, Sony just was like, okay. They just like put it out, you know?
Yeah, they didn't really come over the top, I don't feel like, with the remote play, which was an awesome feature. It is an awesome feature. For the casual gamer, I feel like it's a little cumbersome. Now, I have a Vita. I've had a Vita for a long time, and I don't personally find it cumbersome. But I don't think it was just like, oh my, I could do this flip of a switch if I get a Vita. I think like for parents and young kids, it was just too many hoops to jump through, and it wasn't like sitting right in front of their face of, this is what you can do with this machine.
They didn't really talk about what you could do besides, you know, mobile gaming or on-the-go gaming. Which sucks because it offers all these cool things you can do with it, you know?
I think another thing that really is frustrating, and I don't know how much it impacted the sales, but I think they really messed up with the memory for the PlayStation Vita. Because you got to buy those exclusive. They only work with the Vita, like SD type cards, and they're stupid expensive.
Yeah.
Like to get a decent sized one back in the day was like over $100. It was just not
on top of the console and the games. Like, that's just ridiculous.
They really messed up. You should have just been able to use a standard mini SD card, or an SD card for that matter. But I feel like while all this is going on, and Nintendo's really kicking their ass, right, with the 3DS, just stomping them. Although Sony on the console side, they're faring pretty well for themselves. I think Nintendo's watching all of this and is like, how could we streamline this? How could we do it pretty much kind of the same, but better?
But better. And market it so people understand how it works. Make it easy. So, I don't know, maybe you're playing it and then you go like this and you can play it on the go. Switch. I don't know. That's pretty simple to me.
Yeah, and there's no syncing. It's so simple to use the Nintendo Switch. It's like, keep it simple, stupid. You have got to, I think in the military, they say you got to train everything down to like a 7th grade level. I think that kind of goes with technology too. If you can't just figure it out, if you have to be a tech savvy person to turn on your TV, to use your car radio, people get annoyed by that. I think Nintendo does that better than anyone, is just making it simple.
They take an idea and they make it simple. I know, like, they're not as powerful, they're not as, like, graphically powerful, but they freaking, man, on-the-go gaming and then just on your TV immediately, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to do anything. They're geniuses. I mean, they are kind of late to the party for some of that stuff, but that's because I think they spend the time trying to develop it and make it easy.
It's just unique because the Vita graphically just absolutely piss pounds the DS and the 3DS. It's not even close. It's so much more powerful, but that's not always what people go for. I think simplicity sometimes is really a big deal. And the reason we wanted to talk about this video is, do you think Sony will ever try this again, or are they just going to bow out and say, you know what, that's Nintendo's deal?
I think now that the Switch is out, the Switch Lite is out, the OLED's out now, Nintendo's going crazy into this, and obviously they stopped production on their handheld stuff, which is weird. But I think Sony is going to stop doing handhelds. Obviously they have, but I don't think they're ever going to get back into it. And I think they're just in an arms race with Microsoft trying to make the most powerful console.
Yeah.
That's their new thing. I mean, the PS5 is dope, but that's their only focus.
And you think about the barrier of entry too, right? So the Switch, you could accomplish what Sony was kind of trying to do with the Vita for the price of one console. To do that with either the PS3, we like remote play with the Vita, or the PS4, you had to buy the PS3 or the PS4.
And then buy a Vita.
You also had to invest in the Vita, which was not only, it wasn't cheap, it was expensive, but all the like the memory cards, the games, all that stuff.
SD card.
And then you can't play your Vita games. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just like I have to buy PS4 games and I can only play them like remote play, but they actually just like natively don't play on. It got so complicated.
It was, I think they just didn't think it through enough, or they overthought it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they did too much.
Yeah. I mean,
but, man, we have it, and it's so cool.
It is.
Once you learn and figure out how to do it.
yeah. I mean, they even had like the PlayStation TV stuff going. I mean, there were so many little things that were just, they were so niche. Like, you had to be a hardcore Sony fanboy or girl or a techie, I feel like, to really explore that stuff. And for those of us who had a Vita, it's cool. We loved it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But the painful part is that more people didn't get to enjoy it. And then, I mean, we're huge Nintendo fans too, but then to see Nintendo's stroke of genius of like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. This is where they messed it up. We're going to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, and freaking release it, 5 years later?
I think you're right, though. I don't know that Sony is ever going to get back in the race.
I don't think so. I kind of think handheld gaming is dying, besides the Switch, obviously, but that's kind of a mix. Because Nintendo's not making any of their handhelds anymore. You know, Sony's not making any of them. There's no handhelds, really. I think it's kind of a dying thing, unless it gets resurged again, which would be cool. But I don't think...
I think it's all hybrid from here on out.
Yeah.
I think people are going to want to be able to play games, console-quality games, in their hand, on their TV.
And then they can seamlessly go when they get home, plug it in, boom, full screen, exactly where they left off.
Yeah, and if in this generation, if Sony did pull a rabbit out of their ass and try doing a handheld console, they're going to be in the same boat they were with the PS4, because it would have to integrate with the PS5, wouldn't it? So then you're going to have the PS5, then you're going to have the handheld. I don't know. I think it was their swan song. I really do. I think the Vita was it. I don't envision Sony getting back in that race.
I don't think so, and it sucks. I wish more people would have known about the Vita. I wish the Vita would have done better. The Vita, like, kind of reminds me of the Wii U a little bit, you know? It's this amazing thing that people just didn't really know about. People, like, forgot about it. It does so many cool things.
Yeah, well, it's just like an amazing piece of technology at an inopportune time where people weren't even really looking for that. They didn't even really want that. That wasn't a need that was needing fulfilled. But... I mean, it's awesome. It's a great console. I'm glad we have it. We're not even huge handheld gamers, and it's just unique to me how Sony's been so successful in the video game landscape. The PS1 did very well.
Yeah.
The PSP romped and stomped. I mean, you don't just sell 80 million units. That's not just like a walk in the park. And then the Vita comes out and just pulls that number 2 lever.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. It's weird looking at the data. Like, what happened? Why did it do so bad?
I think what happens, kind of the stuff we talked about in this episode, poor marketing.
Yep.
I think convoluted integration. And I just think you got to keep it simple. You got to keep it simple so that you bring those things into your household and the kids can figure it out. Mom and dad can figure it out. They didn't do that.
It sucks. But now, let's talk about this beer.
Yeah.
This beer makes me kind of think about Keep It Simple Stupid too. This is Cookie Junkie by Back Pocket. So this is a series they've been doing where they do different types of cookies into dessert stouts. This is a chocolate caramel and coconut cookie. So it's kind of like a Girl Scout cookie, these are one of my favorite Girl Scout cookies. So freaking good.
It used to be called like the
Samoas, and now they're called like coconut something.
What are they called? Caramel Delights.
Caramel Delights.
Yeah.
They're so good. So I was super excited for this beer. This beer is a disappointment.
Big time.
Yikes. And I hate saying that because it's a local brewery, and I love Back Pocket. I just think something got messed up in this. I don't taste anything.
No, this is like we've been, for a couple weeks, out dancing and partying with Uncle Co. But I literally feel like my taste buds are gone again. This is just kind of a roasty, nothing going on stout.
Yeah, all I get is a roasted. It's very weird.
The weird thing to me is we have had other ones in this series that were really good. I mean, when you're looking at a flavor profile of caramel, sea salt, chocolate. I mean, all things that make sense in a stout. How did this happen?
I don't know. Maybe something got burnt and it's really disappointing. But I don't want that to shine bad on Back Pocket because they make amazing beers. They're an Iowa brewery. They do a lot of good stuff, but this one they just didn't. Something didn't click. I think they maybe overcomplicated it.
Yeah.
Like the Vita.
I think this is one of the... I wouldn't say it's the worst beer we've had on the channel, but the most disappointing.
Yeah.
I can't think of one.
Because it's literally like, I had all these flavor expectations, and then I just taste nothing.
And it's your favorite Girl Scout cookie.
I know. Like, it doesn't even have a nose. Like, there's no aroma. And people are like, you guys probably have COVID. No! I can taste other things. Just not this beer.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we want to take a little journey with you through Sony's unique path to on-the-go gaming, handheld gaming, mobile gaming, whatever you want to call it. It started off with a bang. They were doing really well, and then it's just so unique that the best piece of hardware that they could have possibly put out with the Vita, such a monster, nobody wanted it anymore, and it just didn't land. I loved your Wii U comparison.
Yeah,
that was.
I think it makes sense.
Like the knowledge of people, just common folk, of those two and their existence and what they were all about,
and what they could do.
It's about the same level.
Yeah. I'm smart sometimes.
I think Sony's out of the mix. I think they are going to go full on console. I think the Vita was the last of a good thing. Sony was really good in the handheld realm.
They were trying it, and then it didn't do well, so they were like, all right, fuck it, we're done. Moving on.
Good luck collecting for the Vita. It's getting insane.
Oh, it's so expensive.
We love our Vita, but we just don't buy games for it anymore because it's getting crazy. But anyway, we appreciate you tuning in and subscribing to the channel. If you got a Vita, give it some love. Go play that poor little guy. God dang. Sad days. We'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Off the Grid.
I think we got it.
Let's go, dude.
Easy. Cookie chunky.
I don't really taste anything. Do I have COVID again?
It just tastes roasty.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a disappointment. Sony has had an interesting road when it comes to gaming on the go and handheld gaming. Their latest and greatest